This episode, there will be news injections, peep shows, riots, and of course, indie games, and maybe even more of this. Indie Game Riot, with Patreon supporters like Suzanne J, Richard K, and starring Keen Hot and Juicy Maverick. Get in on the action by visiting patreon.com/Indie Game Riot. Indie Game Riot, coming to a computer screen near you. This week, Tobias Brunner, which is completely wrong, I'm sorry, brings the sexy back to those dead cells. We'll rule with an iron fist with all this brutality, this and more on episode 126 of Indie Game Riot. Indie Game Riot! Hey everybody, this is Josh, and I'm here with Tobias, who is taking the place of both Prep and Rev because he's just that good. Over there, that's the bearded lady. That's actually a completely accurate picture of Keen, one of our Patreon supporters. I'm just putting that there because he wants just a black screen. Tobias, who is actually a game dev, who participated in IRX Jam, correct?
Right.
And first of all, how was your experience with IRX Jam? I'm going to do like a mini interview with you instead of talking about your week, if that's okay.
Completely. So we were a three-man team. Me as the main programmer, and we used Unreal Engine, and Unreal Engine has this visual scripting tool, which I'm the only one who was experienced with it. So another one was Sven, who was our 3D artist, 2D artist, and David, another game designer, which were mostly there for support everything. He did some 2D stuff, he managed the project, had the overview of what had to be done and motivated us. And yeah, so what questions do you have?
I mean, how was the experience? Was it it was a 48-hour jam. Was it pretty stressful, or did you already have like a general idea of the kind of game that you wanted? Because for those you don't know, the jam theme was free will. People could take that however they wanted. For instance, obviously free will could be like freedom of choice or something like that. And I called it ahead of time that someone was going to do a literal game of that, like free someone named Will, which happened, which is fine. But because it's your interpretation. So I mean,
actually,
yeah.
If you find all endings in our game, you actually also will free your will.
See, there we go. Did you have like a plan in mind, generally speaking, before you even knew the theme, or did you just like boom go into planning mode as soon as it started?
Well, one night before, me and David took our time and somehow trained the concept phase. Like the concept phase is like one of the most important parts. So we thought like, okay, we just take just a theme and doing the concept part through. So our workflow there was, I'm searching documents at the moment, was like both of us, or in the end it was three, because we were a team of three people, we just wrote our ideas down without talking to each other. So everyone had his own ideas without any influence from the other. And after a permitted time, like 30 minutes, we were like, okay, we're done. We should now talk about our ideas. Then, of course, we had several ideas, like still didn't find a document. Yeah. Uh, uh, like one of David ideas was to having like your aunt is almost dead, and if you find her will, like her last will, you will be granted a big gift. And out of that, I had the idea of, okay, you are somehow a judge that has his new own office, and you want to advertise it.
Mm-hmm.
And you advertise it with giving out free wills. And then we had this idea of you just standing on top of a building and throwing wills at all people on the street. So we had several ideas of how to interpret that free will. But in the end, we had this somehow Stanley Parable inspired game where you just in one room have a conveyor belt where the colored cubes came out, and you had like 3 bins where you can throw them in. And of course, you're just spawning in this room without any task given. So you have the free will to do whatever you want, to explore the room, to do what is obvious, to do what's not so obvious. And yeah, that was in the end our idea, and we're pretty happy with it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it personally, but I can't give too much insight until IRX actually happens. I mean, so other than IRX Jam, do you have any other work going on? Other games?
Yes, at the moment I'm working on a little puzzle game I made completely by myself inside of Unreal Engine. It plays with light, like you can switch off and on your light, and if your light is on, almost everything is black except of course your light, and you can search your room, and if your light is off, it's completely dark, but colored objects will be glow. And then you have like, okay, you can place a blue cube on a blue pedestal and it will energize like the door, and you have to orientate you by following the cable that goes to the door.
Ooh,
and
puzzle game.
Yeah, it's a first-person puzzle game.
Actually, kind of reminds me. I saw a couple years ago at Indiecade East in New York. There was a VR game for the Rift where it was slightly different mechanics, but it kind of had the same idea for puzzles where you had to put your hands up in front of your face, and one hand was red and one hand was blue. One would be like, if you look through one, it would be the future, and the other one would be the past. So you'd have to like put it in front of your face to figure it out. It kind of reminds me like that, except using more of a like a blind mechanic instead of the time travel type thing, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm that's cool. You should keep us updated with that.
Yeah, totally. Like the main part is really like you have to use both modes, like when your light is on and nothing glows, but you can search the black room because most things are just black or gray. So orientating is much of a challenge there.
Nice.
Or finding things.
I mean, you're using Unreal. What language is Unreal? I don't remember.
Normally, like in Unreal is C++.
Okay.
But they have their own visual scripting tool, which are blueprints, which is no coding, or it's at least not the typical writing. It's like you have.
It's not so much language as it is the logistics of the.
Yeah, like a tool to use
Right.
C++. It's like having some Lego stones and put them right so it works. Everything works.
Cool. I'm actually I've been learning, as you might have known through the Discord server. I'm learning C#, and that it's part of it is the tutorials, and part of it's you get what you pay for because it's free. The guy's the guy who does the tutorials is mostly good, and the videos are good quality. But then sometimes he'll just completely skim over certain things. I'm like, wait, what? What does that even have to do with anything? What is that? You've never explained that before. So I get lost a little bit, and I get mad, and I stop doing it for a day. But I am learning, and I'm planning on going back and seeing other tutorials and trying to like reinforce what I've learned. But
Yeah,
I'm kind of chomping at the bit to like start working on my game idea a little bit.
like when I started with Unreal Blueprints, I watched many similar tutorials from different people just to get the same thing from different people. So it really helps in the beginning to just understand the concept of it.
Yeah, I know there's a visual coder for Unity as well, like a plugin or something like that. But I definitely need to learn the language. I can't just like to make, because you want to make something high quality, and you don't want to just half-ass it, have bugs and whatever. So I gotta find an artist though. Anyone knows an artist out there? Talk to me, because I that is one thing. Like I could teach myself to draw, but it's going to take much longer for me to learn how to draw to the point where it's high quality than it is for me to learn a language.
Definitely.
Well,
but in the end you will implement the art, and trust me, that's pain in the ass. Implementing art is
well, don't tell me that. Like I have no idea about that. Now I'm not looking forward to it, because in my mind I'm like already like planning things out with like like squares and like cubes and spheres and like just as placeholders in Unity. So I'm like, I can just slap on some art and it'll be fine.
Okay. You know what? You will slap on some art and it will be fine. I'm sure.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad you told me the truth. So I mean, outside of game dev, how's your life been? Anything interesting happened recently, or?
Well, I'm searching on a job at the moment in the industry. I guess I can tell I was for 3 months. I had an internship as a QA, like a play tester, and at the Delic Entertainment.
Ooh.
I don't like. There aren't many people who know the Delic in America. I think.
No, I know
you know
the
Delic. Okay.
Yeah, speaking of, I mean, they're one of the inspirations between them and I can't think of the name now. But anyway, they're one of the inspirations for the adventure game that I'm thinking of, because of they do the I can't think of shit. Anyway, I know who they are. They publish a lot of things too, and
they're the publisher of Shadow Tactics, which is a game I had to playtest for about 6 weeks.
Lucky. I wanted that game really bad. We talked about it some weeks ago, but all I could do is the demo, because it's a kind of an expensive game for compared to most indies.
Definitely.
But it looks like a ton of fun. I love tactics type game.
I think
it
took me. I playtested it like 6 weeks, like almost half of my internship, and it took at least I think 4 weeks before I got bored, because there is a lot of replay value in it. Like for this money, you get lots of hours.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's not worth the money. It's just like usually I'm like, okay, I can drop like $10, but then it's like $30, $40. I don't really have that right now. What can I think of? What Daedalic Entertainment, publishing the show Tactics, Tales of Monkey Island, Machinarium. I'm looking right now because it's gonna drive me nuts if I can't think. They're doing the Long Journey Home. I remember that.
Oh yeah, I actually played that for 1 day, I think.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
Yeah, and before I was at the Delic, I was at a school in Germany, and one of our teacher was the lead game designer of The Long Journey Home. So he showed us already there, kind of a preview.
Deponia is what I was thinking.
Yes. Yeah. Deponia is like, I think, the biggest series they had.
Yeah. They that was what I was thinking of for like adventure games. Because someone in Discord, in our Discord server, mentioned using a specific software that they used for that game.
I was that guy.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
Yeah.
That was you. So I looked into that, and it's only like $30 or something like that for the the lower tier version.
Yeah, something like that.
So I considered it, but I was like, well, I should probably, you know what, just bite the bullet and learn a language. And plus, I was kind of sold on Unity too when I saw that Jenny LeClue. Speaking of like adventure games and stuff like that, Jenny LeClue was made with Unity, and that's a beautiful adventure game. So I was like, oh, well, Deponia is beautiful too, but I was like, well, they can both do it. I might as well just learn the language and go from there, because then I figure I can learn C# and just spread out from there. You know what I mean? I could just have a foundation.
Do you know Silence from Tedelic?
What was it?
It's Silence.
Silence.
Or The Whispered Worlds 2. It's it's a point-and-click adventure with 3D graphics, like 3D models.
Oh.
It's like I said, it's Whispered Worlds 2 technically. If you maybe played the first, and it's made with Unity. It's like a really pretty game, like a really pretty one. And I can recommend it, especially because they had very bad sales on it.
Oh, they published Skyhill too. I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm just looking through some of their games that they've developed and published. And Bounty Train, I didn't know they did Bounty Train. I'm just kind of surprised that they. I'm kind of surprised that more people don't like a lot of these games. Like people know of them. And Machinarium and Botanicula were fairly popular, as is Deponia, but they're not really like. It seems like not like as popular as it should be for as good as they are. So I'm kind of surprised, but I do definitely know who they are. So I'm not an uncultured swine. Thank you. All right. Well, you know what?
What?
makes us cultured swines instead of uncultured swines?
Yeah.
Indie news injections.
Are you bored with the same old games?
Yeah.
Why, then give yourself an indie news injection.
Thanks, Indie Games.
This week on Indie News Injection, the first thing I want to mention is that IRX Jam 17 was a success. I would say a big success. I wasn't sure what the turnout would be, because last year we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We made the jam way too long. We didn't get that many submissions. It was we had like 3, I think, last year, and I would say most of that was my fault because I didn't know how to plan a game jam. And on top of that, the person who won never even claimed their prize, so I was like, all right, well, whatever then. This year, we had 24 submissions. Over 90 people joined, which is like basically showing interest in it. Saying that, you would assume that like the majority of those people are just joining just because they're like, maybe, and then they flake out, and then a bunch of other people are actually teaming up with each other and stuff like that. So 24 submissions, I'm very happy with that result. We're going to be pretty busy. I've already played through some of them, and then by the time Indie Revolution Expo rolls around next month in July, then it would be a month and a half from now, actually, it's Indie Revolution Expo. Then we're going to announce the winner after exhibiting all those games during the expo. And the winner gets cool prizes. And Tobias is one of those people, as you've heard earlier, who made the Stanley Parable kind of like game in the jam. Definitely go play it, by the way. It's all linked. All the games are linked on the website, indiegameriot.com, and then go to hover over the Indie Revolution Expo tab, and you'll see the IRX Jam page for option there to click on. Speaking of Indie Revolution Expo 2017, that is happening again in a month and a half. June 16th, so in 2 weeks approximately, is the deadline for Indie Revolution Expo to sign up your game or games, as well as your panels and or talks, because people like to tell me, well, panels are actually groups of people discussing things and answering questions. And I'm like, well, you know what? You and your semantics. You can sign up for those things. Yeah?
Well, I will definitely at least show my puzzle game there. I will submit it in 1 or 2 weeks.
Yes. You have until the 16th. Don't forget.
Yeah, I know. It's my deadline for the game in general, so I will not forget it.
Oh, nice. All right, good. So yeah, get your stuff in I have there's a bunch of games that I've signed up. I just haven't gotten around to putting them on the website yet, but they're there. We got a bunch of games from one guy. If you know who Suits and Nukes are, he's kind of infamous or just famous within like the free Flash game area. So he submitted a bunch of his games, and I actually did one of his more recent ones called Spime. I was a voice in his game for that, which was pretty cool. And especially after like years of knowing who he was just through Newgrounds and stuff like that. So I've enjoyed that experience. But we have a good amount of games right now. I'd like to see more panels and or talks. So make sure you sign up those things. Anyway, I should probably do my job and show you these fancy logos. That's the Indie Revolution Expo logo. It's nice. And actually, I'm about to put out, speaking of logos, the IRX t-shirt for this year. So if you're interested in getting the limited edition t-shirt, keep an eye out because that will be coming out very soon. And of course, anytime you buy one of those t-shirts, that goes to support IRX. And then here's the logo for the jam because that was part of the news as well. The next thing in the news is Edmund McMillen, who made Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac, games like that, very popular games. One of the pioneers, I would say. I don't know if I would call him the first one, but he was definitely one of the originals, like closer to the beginning of the indie game boom.
Definitely. Like he's even in the movie game, in the movie about indie game.
Yeah, he was one of the two good games in that movie that weren't called Fez. So yeah, he recently announced that he's coming out with a new game that's working with Tyler Glale. I never know how to pronounce his last name. Glale. He's basically saying that they've been working on it for a long time, and they've just been for like 3 months. They've been crunching on the code and stuff like that. So you got to keep an eye out on Edmund McMillen's Twitter for this game. Of course, we'll let you know as soon as we know. They're also working on other games like Legend of Bumbo and Eugenics, I think, were some other ones. He's been kind of kind of like joking about Super Meat Boy too. I don't know if it's a joke or not. Maybe this is what he's working on.
Well, he worked already on Endless Meat Boy or Super Meat Boy Endless, which was actually a mobile game, like Endless Runner in Super Meat Boy style. And about in 2015, he announced that he's back on working on it. But since then, it's already like it was no other news. So maybe it's about the mobile Super Meat Boy, or maybe it's a game that came out from the Super Meat Boy mobile game. Like they were like, okay, we don't really like this game, but we have a new idea out of this game, like the inspiration they took from it. I could imagine.
Well, I'm personally not. I love Super Meat Boy, but I'm personally not a fan of Binding of Isaac. So what I'm hoping it's not is another Binding of Isaac expansion, because he's come out with 2, 3 of them already. So.
We're in the same team there. We're in the same team there.
It's not a bad game. I just don't like it personally, and I'm terrible. Part of it is because I'm terrible at it. I'm not good at those kinds of games, and plus, I don't know, the whole thing. It's just not my thing. But I do like Edmund McMillen. Talking about Newgrounds, actually, I mean, I've known him for a long time on there, even like back to my high school days. So. Definitely an inspiration, and keep an eye out for that new game. The other thing that's new, at least to me, not actually new, it's new to me, is a thing called GamerBake. GamerBake, I found out only about recently. It's already happened. Even if we had done this particular news story on time, like the week that we were supposed to do it, it would have still been like too late because it was happening that particular week. But I still wanted to mention it just because it's pretty cool. Basically, in the UK, they have a simple thing where basically you go, come up with a game-related theme, you bake, and you then decide who's the best gamer-baked item. It's sponsored by Dingit.tv. I have actually never heard of that before, but I don't know if that's like a particular indie thing or not. I've never heard of it.
Me too.
They also have other excuse me, they also have other things that go on. By the way, they had a retro theme for this past one. They have one that happens in Brighton. If you are in the UK, it's July 11th that's going to happen. They also have GamerBake Halloween sometime in October, and of course one for Christmas in December. But those specific dates have not been announced yet. But something to keep an eye on, and I like the idea for those of you who enjoy to cook and game at the same time. And it's a good time to hang out and meet people. We were talking about before the show, conventions, some of the best ways to network with people.
Definitely. Maybe you will meet the HR manager of UK Ubisoft there, because he loves to bake things.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty cool actually. Although I think Ubisoft is about to get bought by Vivendi. Oh well. Wrong one. And speaking of conventions and networking, Devolver Digital, and I know Suzanne Zed in the chat will be going to E3 this year. Devolver Digital is actually hosting a free picnic event at this year's E3. Basically, what they say, it's an indie picnic is our way of giving back to the fans and celebrating a mutual love for games and art. So it's pretty cool. If you're a fan of Devolver games, which I am, although Devolver games tend to be really weird, sometimes disturbing, and if that's anything to think about, then maybe if that's going to be like happening at the picnic, I don't know, like some sort of Hotline Miami picnic going on, that would be kind of terrible. But
I imagine we're sitting there eating some kind of meat, and then there is this army of men with pig masks, and they're saying, "You eating us, we eat you," and then they're running at us with baseball bats. Actually,
I changed my mind. That would be awesome. I hope that does happen. Even the chasing with baseball bats, everyone running in fear, and everyone just people chucking the baseball bats, just going really fast through doors. It'd be awesome. So yeah, it's going to include the Devolver Digital, obviously, but they're also having indie game demos from Indie Mega Booth. XSplit is going to be showing stuff off there. Gambitious is going to be doing stuff, and I think NVIDIA is going to be showing off their NVIDIA, Logitech, and Alienware are going to be showing off stuff at their picnic. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like they're kind of taking like, hey, fuck you E3, we're going to do our own thing, and they're going to start their own indie E3, which would be okay with me. But,
yeah. Maybe it's their beginning. I mean, they're a pretty big publisher, if I'm not completely wrong.
Yeah, they're getting pretty big. I don't. I guess you could call them. We talk about like triple indie companies, and I guess you could kind of call them triple indie. I don't know. They're still not as big as like Double Fine, or I don't think, but they're definitely one of the more successful ones. Between them and Tiny Build, that they're kind of like in their own tier of publishers. But I still think they're solidly indie. All right, something that is no longer solidly indie is Kerbal Space Program, because it's been bought by Take-Two Interactive. So if you don't know Take-Two, they're a AAA company that owns 2K, they own Firaxis, Rockstar, things like that. You know, obviously those are big AAA studios. They've bought Kerbal Space Program, proving once again indies are awesome because they attract. They basically say, hey, AAA, people want creative games instead of the 20th Assassin's Creed this year. So once again, congratulations to the people who made Kerbal Space Program, because they've probably, which would be Squad, by the way, they've probably cashed out, and I don't blame them.
Definitely not. Like, and I have to say, like, I never played Kerbal Space Program because it's not my kind of game. But I watched a lot of videos and other stuff. I watched my brother playing it because it's not just unique; it's just really good. Like, it's a really good space simulation where you can build your own spacecraft and flying to the moon and I think other planets.
Well, it's interesting because it's cool because they made Kerbal Space Program like a very good sim to the point where it's in depth to the point that it's like difficult and you have to use math, and it's cool because there are people that can actually do it and do it well, and then you're really impressed. But then on the other hand, the people that suck at it, then it's just funny, and it's still fun no matter what end of the spectrum that you're on. So I'm glad that they've turned this success into a bigger success. I did hear like a while back that Squad was having problems with their studio, so maybe this is for the best. But who knows? They are also still promising free DLC for Kerbal Space Program. So I don't know if that will actually happen or not.
I'm just not completely sure why Take-Two bought them or like the game. Like, yeah, it's a good game, but Take-Two has to have some sort of plan with it. Like,
well, Kerbal Space Program is already like they're in the millions of profits, like millions of dollars. So I mean, they're probably planning on expanding it and still, raking in the profits afterwards, or maybe building on top of what they already have, maybe a KSP2 or something like that. And then what was I going to say?
I could even imagine they just wanted like the source code of the game, because like you said, there's lots of math and lots of simulation behind it. And
oh God, don't talk about math and source code, man. That's
like if you want to program such a game, you have to stick your head into it. So maybe they're like, okay, maybe they had planned for some similar things, and they were like, okay, we could pay our programmers to learn that by themselves, or we buy this code so they learn it faster. They have an actual source code that helps them to build a similar game with similar simulations.
Prep in the chat says, "Here comes Kerbal Online." Yeah, it's going to be a Kerbal MMO. Oh, even better, it's going to be a Kerbal mobile game where you're behind a bunch of paywalls
with mobile elements.
Yeah.
And loot boxes where you get the parts for your rocket ship.
Microtransact. Yeah. Otherwise, all you can do is like you have like one engine and like one cabin and one Kerbal. You have to unlock the rest. So something else that is kind of cashing in on their awesome indiness is the game Papers, Please. They're actually making they're getting a short film adaptation made of the game, which looks awesome, by the way. I'm super excited about this. And we always expressed concern for like when FNAF was going to do a movie, and then We Happy Few, which was really weird because they're not even a complete game yet. Things like that. And we're like, well, I mean, first of all, video game movies don't turn out very well historically. And second of all, you're taking games that I mean, they're not like, I guess the FNAF story could do well, but it's this, if you're going to make it like the game, it's not going to do well. And I get the feeling that's what they're going to do. Although I heard Legendary / Lionsgate, I think, who tend to do pretty well with, was it Lionsgate? It's been passed around a lot for FNAF with the movie, but the last company that had them have a pretty reputable like history with horror, so maybe they will take it that way. However, this is a short film for Papers, Please, which is actually kind of perfect because could you imagine like taking a game like Papers, Please, where it's all in one little box,
Screen.
yeah, and then expanding it into a 1.5 to 2 hour movie. It's pretty cool. So obviously they're not giving away a whole lot about it, but there's some pretty cool screenshots of, like, you see one on screen there. There's some of their desk and some behind the scenes and stuff like that. Lucas Pope is obviously very excited about it, and while he's working on Return of the Obra Dinn, which
Well,
I'm
I think
excited about that.
I personally think like a short movie is probably the best thing to make games out of it, because especially with a game like Papers, Please, like you could really discuss like, is Papers, Please really a game or more like an experience?
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to not just the atmosphere, but to have this experience of Papers, Please, like you're the border control and you have your family, but you don't want to be such an asshole to new people. Like I could imagine, like, good thing about this, you make a movie about it. A movie has other audience than a game, so you can bring the same experience to new people because it's the same experience but in a different format. Like, not a game, it's a movie.
And this one has, like, the game, even though it takes place in that little box, like one screen, the entire game, it has a cool story behind it in a more loose fashion, because it's about your own choices, but all the people that come by consistently, you know, there's not only the character that you're playing as, but there's that like one old dude that's always trying to get you to sneak him in. There's the government. There's like that weird society or whatever that is, that I haven't played it for a while, but that's trying to like convince you to do things. And there's a cool story there, but there's not enough to obviously make it a feature film. So I think this will be really cool seeing it as a short, bringing, you know, all those aspects together. Well, speaking of aspects coming together, we've got one coming up right now in... I hear you laughing. We got one coming up right now in Starting the Riot. This week on Starting the Riot, we are talking about a game called... Let me get the gameplay up. That's not what it's called. It's called The Sexy Brutale, which is by Tequila Works. If you don't know Tequila Works, they made a really crappy game. I'm going to be completely honest. Called... Now I can't remember what the hell it's called. Man, I don't know what it is tonight, or most nights, to be honest. I'm losing my shit, my mind. I can't think of words. I'm like losing my...
Words can be really hard sometimes.
Yeah. You know English better than I do. Where are the games? Hold on. I'm going to get it. Deadlight. There it is.
Deadlight.
Yeah. So I was really, like, for Deadlight, I was actually really excited about, and then I played it on... I actually have a whole Let's Play of it, and it was so buggy, and the voice acting was shit, and I hated it. But The Sexy Brutale is a fantastic game. Ouch. Sexy Brutale is basically, you play as a person who's in this mansion. You have to figure out basically who's going to die and how, and then find a way to stop it, right? Have you haven't... Oh, yeah, you said you haven't played this game.
I haven't played this game, but I hear from it.
Okay.
Like it's like when the time is over, you start the day over again.
Okay. Inside it's a casino mansion, excuse me, because there is like a big casino gambling theme involved, and it's actually a ball, like a masquerade type of thing that you're taking part of. So it's a big puzzle to figure out how to, like, you see the murder happen or you see someone dying happen, and it's a big mystery as to like what's going on, why, who's doing it, because, you know, there's masks involved, so you don't really know who it is, and then you have to go back and find a way how to stop it, which is the puzzle part of it. Basically, the person who owns the mansion and everything like that goes missing, which kicks all this stuff off. And since he goes missing, everyone starts getting, you know, murdered, and you have to figure out why. There's like a weird priest that ends up getting... I keep hitting my microphone. That ends up like being protected from it, so it's kind of like, why are you so special from what's going on in here? It's a big mystery. It's really cool aesthetic too. It's top-down isometric, but it's 3D and it uses interesting mechanics. It's not the standard top-down isometric, if that makes sense. because you're using things like where you kind of have to look through doors. You see in the gameplay there, listen through doors. You have to sneak around, making sure you don't get caught by the person killing people and all that sort of stuff, and find a way to change history. Do you have any questions about the Sexy Brutale or anything you'd like to add?
Not really. Like, I only can agree. It looks kind of cool. Like, I like the style with those multiple characters and the masks, and I think this getting out the murder mystery is a pretty cool thing.
I love
better than Deadlight.
I love the art in this, and the top notch. They did a lot better with this because the voice acting is a lot better in this. The art, the dead whatever thing I can't think of. Deadlight. God, man, what is wrong with me? Wasn't bad, but this I really like the aesthetic in this a lot more. It's dark but still colorful, which I'm always impressed with, and people can pull that off. Where they can pull off the colors with the macabre. Really cool character models and designs on them with the masks and everything like that. So, and of course, there's the casino part of it where you can. I actually don't know 100% what the casino part is because I didn't look into that. You're seeing some of the gameplay there, but I don't know exactly how that works. I know that as you rescue people, you get like cards to make a hand out of, and I think that maybe gives you like an edge when you're trying to solve various puzzles, maybe to proceed and stuff like that. So, but anyway, Sexy Brutale, Tequila Works. Go check it out. It is currently on Steam for. This is why I need Rev and Tech, because they know the gist, so they know to like pick up where I forget to do it. Let me get Sexy Brutale on Steam. It is currently $19.99 on Steam. By the way, overwhelmingly positive recently. 95%. Actually, no. 95% overall positive reviews. So there's that. It is only for Windows, so sorry if you play Mac or Linux, but what the hell's wrong with you anyway? Sexy Brutale, Tequila Works. Go check it out. You know what else we're going to be checking out?
Well, I guess it's called Dead Cells.
Nope. Peep Show.
No.
Please give all your attention to Early Access.
This week on Peep Show, we're talking about Dead Cells. Dead Cells, first of all, is in early access on Steam. It's made by... hold on, I'm pulling it up on Steam because I am not prepared ever. It is made by Motion Twin, and it's in early access, but to be completely honest, I don't know what's early access about it. It plays like a fully complete game. I haven't found anything wrong with it. Maybe they're still doing some balancing issues, because basically Dead Cells is a Castlevania mixed with roguelike mechanics. You play as the Dead Cell, and you go through trying to pick up, or you're not playing as the Dead Cell, but you're playing as a dude who is dead, and you're like possessed by some sort of, I don't know exactly what it is, it looks like some sort of mold, I'm going to be completely honest, that takes over this guy's beheaded body, and you're picking up Dead Cells by defeating enemies and such. And you get upgrades, some of them permanent, some of them not. But that's the whole point of the roguelike thing, is because when you die, you get some of those things to take along, and you're stronger next time to get farther. And it's challenging, but not challenging to the point where I just wanted to give up. I thought it was a ton of fun. I don't usually do... I know a lot of people who are like, just, if it's a Castlevania, they're giving it all the hand jobs, I guess, because... I'm not one of those people. I wasn't like a huge fan of Castlevania when I was younger, or any of those kinds of games, partially because I wasn't very good at it, I guess. It's kind of a theme. If I'm not good at it, I don't like it. But this I'm not too bad at. there's not a whole lot of hand holding, but you do get the grass pretty easily, and it's cool because once you beat these, like, I guess you could call them end bosses, then you get these special abilities, like you just saw in the gameplay not that long ago. I think where the guy like grew a vine so he can get up. Oh, you're seeing it now. Yeah. No. Well. Anyway. I keep forgetting there's like a lag on the Twitch stream. So anyway, you see the vine growing, and that's how you like progress forward into like future levels and things like that, and then beat the next boss and so on and so on, which is really cool. And you get the see how you get to interact. Like that's the first time I played it. I saw these patches of grass and it was like press A to tickle. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And you can't you do it and it's like it does nothing. You're like, okay. Well, I guess you can just interact with stuff randomly, and then you finally find out after you beat the first boss that, you can press A to grow the vine by tickling it, apparently. The tickle of triumph, I called it, I think. And then you can go in and buy these upgrades that you're seeing on the screen right now. There's tons of upgrades that you get. I really don't know what else they're going to add, but it is an early access and therefore peep show. Go check out Dead Cells by Motion Twin. What do you think of it, Tobias?
Well, first of all, if you don't know why it's on early access, just go on the Steam page, because it's a question they have to answer if they want to put it on early access. And they talk about like they want to double the content of it. In the next 8 to 12 months, they want to double the content of it, and after that, taking the price up. So if you will buy it now, you're not just can give feedback to the developer and influence the game. Now you get it a lot cheaper, I guess, because like if they double the amount of content, because it's already 16 to 20 hours for one average playthrough, I think they will take up the price to like double it or something like that. So the
price right now is $16.99, so that would be $34 bucks. Which, I mean, honestly, with saying right now that their content is 16 to 20 hours for one playthrough, and if they double it to 30 to 40 hours, I mean, and plus it's a roguelike, so replayability, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So $34 bucks for something like that is, I mean, we talk about that too from time to time about like what, dollars versus playtime and content and stuff like that, like what makes the price range appropriate, because people complain about like Firewatch being $30 or something like that, as an example, because it was kind of a shorter game. But I mean, it depends on experience and depends on a lot of things. So I personally think I would suggest that even if you get it after early access, even though I would say it's perfectly fine as it is, it would still be worth whatever they bump up the price to. So go check out Dead Cells by Motion Twin. Oh, and it is only for Windows. Again, Mac and Linux. Fuck you, apparently.
Yeah, like the main problem is with Mac and Linux is like you still have to play test on it. And it costs a lot of money to have someone who playtest it on an extra machine you buy. That's the main problem.
One thing they did with this game, because the maps are procedural, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But the one thing they did really well was designing bot or enemy patterns. Because that's what a lot of this is learning as you go. So you're like, what do I do? And then you get killed by something. You're like, oh, well, I got to avoid that. So you learn how to avoid it and defeat them, and you learn the patterns of the enemies and everything like that. They did a really good job of making it not so incredibly difficult with the enemy patterns as far as like learning it and then completing it, because it feels like once you learn it, then it's challenging, but it's not like really super difficult to beat it even after you learn it, because it's one of those things in roguelites where it's like once you learn something, you should be able to surpass that the next playthrough, for the most part, barring like a screw up or something. So they did a really good job of balancing and designing that sort of stuff too. You know what else is really well balanced and designed?
Well, I would say it's mobile, because we're going to mobile.
Yes, it's going mobile.
Oh. Huh?
This week, we're talking about a going mobile game, or a mobile game that's going. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But anyway, it's called it's called Roll with an Iron Fish. Roll with Iron Fish is by Kestrel Games, and it's a fishing game, as you can see. Generally, with these mobile games, there's not a whole lot to talk about. But this game actually has it's won some awards and everything like that. It looks beautiful, honestly, especially considering it's on mobile. It's got 5 stars on iTunes, 5 stars on Google Play, 4.5 stars on Touch Arcade. It's won CNET's Best Mobile Game, or one of CNET's Best Mobile Games of 2016. Snapzilla's one of the games of the year for 2016. And actually, it's currently on Steam Greenlight, so they are trying to put it on Steam. I never really know how I feel about porting mobile games to Steam or vice versa, because like if it's made for mobile, is it really going to translate well on Steam?
Probably not really.
So I don't know about that. But anyway, you're fishing. You are trying to become the greatest pirate captain that has ever fished the seas. And you are building up this town that's on this island. You add pirates. You build up the buildings on there, and you're catching, basically trying to catch like these weird fish, like a collection of them. There's I'm trying to read a list of the kind of fish they have here. Catch scientifically inaccurate fish like pseudocarps, weaponized pufferfish, and passive-aggressive piranhas. Which I kind of want passive-aggressive piranhas. That sounds pretty awesome, I gotta say. And then you throw rotten fish at your rivals. Stuff like that. And then you do all sorts of piratey things like spit and grow beards and things like that. So it's very ridiculous. It was also a Pocket Gamer Connect Vancouver Big Indie Pitch Top 5 finalist, whatever that is. I've never heard of it before, but I missed that award. But yeah, pretty straightforward. It does cost money on Google. I believe it is $3. Yeah, $2.99, $3. But you pay money once, and then you don't have to worry about other bullshit like ads. Just saying. And mobile devs do have to make a living too. Can't expect it all to be free. Just saying.
That's true.
Yeah.
Making a free-to-play game is hard. Like making a good free-to-play model to get money out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, and it's weird with mobile games too. When you're talking about free-to-play, is like you need to make money, but at the same time, you can't really just smash ads all over the place, because then it's just going to turn the game to shit and it's going to piss people off. And then microtransactions, you got to make sure it's not pay to win. But at the same time, like, how do you incentivize people to pay for stuff in microtransactions? It's always kind of hard. People take mobile games for granted, I would say. But anyway, go check it out. Roll with an Iron Fish, Kestrel Games, Android and iOS. So don't have to worry about it, unless you're a Windows Phone user for some reason. That's more surprising than anyone being a Mac and Linux user. That's weird. But you know what's not surprising, Tobias?
The outro?
Yeah, the outro. It is the end of the show. It's not surprising at all, because we're at the end. Outros tend to happen at the end. Again, I just want to remind everyone, Indie Revolution Expo 2017 happening July 14th through the 16th, the whole weekend. And also make sure that you sign up to exhibit your games, as well as doing a talk or something like that for the expo by June 16th, because that's the deadline. If you like what we do, you want to help the show grow, all that sort of stuff, please check us out on patreon.com/Indie Game Riot. You see the little image above me? That is something that one of our supporters got for donating at a certain tier on our Patreon. He gets a custom made logo with his name every month, and we add him into that little commercial thing at the beginning. It's always fun. So thank you so much for the consideration. You can also always chat with us on Twitter at IDR Podcast or Facebook.com/IDR Podcast. And we're on Discord. Make sure you check us out on Discord. And of course, you can email us, contact@indiegameriot.com. Also, thank you to Tobias for filling in tonight, because otherwise there would have been no show once again. And I need to... we need to figure that out, because we got to get the show going. So thank you for showing up. Go follow him at Unreal_Tobias, and make sure you keep an eye out for his games, and go play his game and comment on the jam page as well, because it's
Definitely.
cool. Anyway, do you have any last words, Tobias?
I don't think so. It was nice to be here. I like stuff like that. And
Nice
thank
to be
you
here.
for...
Never again. No problem. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it so much, and sharing your opinions with me. And anyway, say your goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye, everyone.